Okay, I have here my $4 to $5 Goodwill guitar. I think I got it for, maybe it was $4.99. It was, I don't think it was a full $5. And when I got this guitar, so you see it's a little beat up, it had like maybe 2 strings on it. And I checked it out. I'm not a guitar expert, but I went and I looked at the, the whole thing, and I looked at the fretboard, and I looked at the action, which is like the distance between the string and the fretboard, and everything actually looked pretty good. So I put some strings on it, and for a cheap guitar that I don't mind if it gets banged up, it's actually works just fine. However, I have steel strings on it, and even though I previously have had calluses, I've now gotten very spoiled with the classical guitar and the ukulele with the nylon strings, and I just don't like playing steel strings anymore because they hurt my fingers. And I only found out like just last week that I could put nylon strings on an acoustic guitar and not have to even deal with the steel strings. So why am I putting myself through all this pain when I don't need to? I don't know why I didn't learn about this years ago. So I'm going to take the steel strings that I had previously put on this little guitar, and I'm going to put some nylon strings on. And so I'm just recording it in case anybody else wants to see how to do it, since I know like when I first had to put strings on a guitar, it was a little scary. So this is actually, in case you're curious, it's a Rogue guitar. This is like an entry-level guitar. You can get them pretty cheap online. So if for some reason this messed up the guitar, I'm not that concerned about it. Obviously, I only paid less than $5 for it. So these are the steel strings I had previously put on, and I have used them. I don't know if you can see on the video, but they're a little worn, so they needed to be replaced anyway, because you shouldn't let them get to the point where they start to get pitted and dingy and whatnot. And yeah, they sound okay. A little jangly. So let's just take these off. Now, what is it? Oh, I wanted to say that these actually are some of the lightest strings that you can get. So if you get steel strings for your guitar, you can get lighter ones that aren't as hard to play. So these aren't, I don't think these are like the super light, extra super light ones, but they are fairly lightweight. Even so, I still don't like how they feel on my fingers. So we're going to take these off. I got these nylon ball end guitar strings from Ernie Ball online at Amazon. They were $5 each or something. They got decent reviews. Not everybody loved them, but I like the fact that they have a ball end, so I don't have to worry about hooking them up here at the bottom. See, these are ball end strings. So I'm going to take these out, and I'm going to start replacing the strings. The other thing I have on here, by the way, is a little tuner, and this can help once the strings are on. I'm going to take this off right now because it'll get in my way. So I remember reading this a long time ago, and I don't remember if this was exactly right, but it's usually better, from what I understand, to not take all the strings off at once, because then your guitar doesn't have the tension it normally has. So take them off one at a time. And I'm going to take off the bottom strings first, or the top, depending on how you look at it. They're the top to me, but I still think of them as the bottom because they're the low ones. So sorry if that's confusing. I also have this little guitar string winder, which is very helpful. And it has a cutter on the bottom, which I will need once I put the new strings on. So the thing I wanted to say is that I could potentially just cut the strings off, but I don't like to do that because the strings will kind of go all haywire. And I also like to keep backup strings just in case I run out of strings. So I just want to make sure I'm going to wind it the right way. So I'm winding it down. Let's see if I can get that. Yeah, I'm winding it this way. It's always a good idea when you're working on your strings to have the guitar away from you so the string doesn't fly in your face and hurt you. Okay. Usually though, if you're loosening them, it's not a problem. It's if you're tightening the string, then you have the problem of the string flying in your face. Now, one time I had a classical guitar that I had gotten through Craigslist, and it was a pretty decent guitar. And I had the, you know, the nylon classical guitar strings on there. Had, you know, played it for some years. I hadn't touched it for a little while. It was sitting on a guitar stand. And then all of a sudden, one day, it was late at night, I heard this twang, very scary sound when it's all otherwise quiet. It's like after 1 o'clock in the morning. And the entire bridge of the guitar had just flown off the guitar. That's this part. For no good reason. So I was just glad I wasn't playing it when that happened. And see, this one's getting a little, it's still not loose enough to just unwind here. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Taking that string all the way through. I might cut this top part off because it doesn't want to go through this bottom part, but trying to get it through there. This string's going to be the worst. Now it's stuck. See, it's one of the things that happens when you start to work on your guitar. There we go. So at this point, I don't want to cut it off because I don't want it stuck there. All right, so I have my extra string, and I'm gonna just loop it up to save it. I don't save like years and years worth of guitar strings, but just the last set I had on the guitar, just in case. Of course, with this, you don't really want to mix and match. If you have the nylon strings, you just want to have the nylon strings across the board. Okay, so I've got my little strings here, and that's the other thing. It's really confusing when you first start with the guitar. I'm going to open up my pack. What strings go on what guitar? So if you have an acoustic guitar, this is an acoustic guitar, and you can tell partly because of, well, you can tell by this up at the top, that's more of an acoustic. The classical guitar has the little holes where it winds through the hole. And the classical guitar has, the strings are wider apart, so it's easier to do finger picking with the classical guitar. So the acoustic guitar, the strings are closer together this way. So the acoustic guitar, you can put steel strings on. And apparently you can put nylon strings on, which is what I'm going to do right now. But you cannot put, you cannot put steel strings on a classical guitar. The steel strings will be too strong and it will potentially break your classical guitar. So your classical guitar only gets classical guitar nylon strings. Okay. Also, if you have an electric guitar, that also has different strings. Electric guitar strings are lighter and easier to play than the acoustic guitar. All right, so this is where you get confused. I've got 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd, etc. And then I always have to remind myself, which is the 6th? Is it the one that's up here? Is this the 6th or is this the 6th? So if you don't remember, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up, and here is the 6th string in here. And then we have our 1st string, and that is pure nylon, and it's obviously thinner. So this one, this little baby is not the one I'm going to replace right now, because the thinnest, tiniest string is going to go down here. I'm not showing my hand properly, but you know what I mean. That is this one, which is the first string. That's why it's confusing, because to me, first string would be up here, but it's not. This is the sixth string. So it's easy enough to tell based on the size of the string. So we're going to start with string number 6. And all I need to do is unwind this. See, it's got the little ball end. I'm going to take this through the hole at the bottom. Sorry, my guitar's a little dusty too. Really needs like a guitar wash or something. Well, I'm not sure how I want to do that. All right, so I put this through here. And now here's the fun part. Putting it through this. So I'm putting it through so that the string is going from the inside out. Okay, and I'm not gonna, there's gonna be extra here. I'm gonna show that properly. So it's going from the inside out. This is also why it's a good idea to not take all the strings off at once, because you can also look and see what you did with the previous ones. I'm going to pull this up, but I'm not going to pull it up like all the way. I'm going to pull it up kind of most of the way. I'm going to leave a little bit of slack there. I might be too conservative with that. That's quite a bit of slack. And then I'm going to be turning this. I want to make sure I'm turning this in the right direction. There it goes. Yeah. So here, and this is where it's good to have this thing. Because this is where it'll take forever. I'm going to stick that on the end there, and I'm going to start winding it. Now, if you notice, this thing's already starting to kind of like go a little caterwonky, or whatever the term is. So I'm trying to kind of hold on to it and guide it as I do this. Make sure I'm still, that's the problem, you stop. Oh, and that's the other thing. It just popped off as I was doing that. So I'm going to pop that back on there, kind of hold it on there. Now, ideally, I love it when I get the string. This one I did, it was like, I don't know if you can see that. It's all nice, they're all even. I try to get that, but that's not, I'm not always successful with that. Okay, so. String in my face. You notice I still have the guitar pointed away from me. All right, so I'm getting like at a point where it's now wound a little bit. It's still pretty loose, but it's a little less of a danger. So continue to wind this. No, it's not bad. I mean, it's a little tilted, but really, I'm the only one that's going to notice this. So it's not like this is a super nice guitar. Okay, so now I want to get to the point where I remember what that note's going to sound like, so I don't go too over the top here. And hold on just a second. I have a tuning app. It's actually on the Fender website. So if you go to the Fender website, they actually have free tuner, online tuner. It doesn't listen and tell you where you are chromatically, but it will at least give you the sound. So I'm trying to get up to that. And I'm clearly not up to that. So now if you don't have a good sense of good ear, that might be a little harder for you. You might need to use a tuner that will tell you where you are in reference to the note. And there's tons of free tuners that you can get on your phone, or you can get one of these little doohickeys, which sometimes are a little difficult actually, but let's see. I kind of hit that like pretty close. So I'm going to put this on here and see. So only slightly. There we go. It's only slightly flat. So I kind of looked at there. Now, I'm not going to cut this just yet. Now, some people might, it actually might make it easier. I just wait till the end before I cut all that off, just in case I get picky or I want to redo something. I'll take this off for now. Also, a lot of people, I see these people complaining in the forums like, I put these strings on and then they were out of tune. Well, for the first week or maybe even two, depending on how often you adjust it, your guitar is going to get out of tune as the strings stretch and settle in. So you have to constantly retune it for at least a week or so before it'll kind of hold it. And then even after that, you always need to tune it before you play. So just be aware of that. And that you can tune it slightly sharp, so you can tune it slightly higher than the note. I wouldn't overdo it because you don't want the string to break in your face, but you can tune it slightly higher. And if you do that, then it'll settle back closer to the note that you want. So by the time I'm done stringing this, I'm sure this will be out of tune again. See, it's already going out of tune as I talk to you. Just from that, I know it's out of tune. So now that that one's done, and I'm actually pretty happy with that, considering I've never restrung my guitar on camera before, I'm going to do the next one. So this one is, since this one is number 6 now, I'm going to go to number 5. And of course, I want to get this other one off first. So once again, I'm making sure that I'm holding this away from me. I can use my little, where did I put it? There it is. Make sure I don't lose my strings here. Okay. This thing is like really good to have. You can get them, of course, now, right now, I'm filming this during the middle of the COVID pandemic. Nobody's going to music stores, but you can get them online at any online music store. Okay. Now I gotta see, this is the part where I should probably just cut it, but me being the, what, just in case I run out of strings, or if I want to, I wouldn't actually necessarily want to put these strings back on. I do have another set of steel strings that are lightweight that I would put the new ones on first before I put these on. So these are kind of like a backup actually, but just for the sake of that. And also, even when you cut these and they're not attached to the guitar, these wiry strings at the end, they're still likely to have the little bits and pieces fly in their face. So I can just pull that through without destroying the guitar. Now I might be more careful about this if this were like a Martin but I'm not. All right, there's string 2. And just to keep track of them, where did I get that first string? I want to put them in the envelopes. So this is the envelope for the string I just did. This is the 6th string that I took off, so this is getting put into the 6th string envelope. And I'm going to set that aside. And then I'm changing the 5th string right now. So here's my new 5th string. And I'm just going to wrap up my old 5th string real quick. And put that in my envelope. Put that aside. Now, notice I said these were nylon strings, and the bottom strings are still, at least on the outside, not nylon. But they're more lightweight. And I'm not sure about these. Sometimes they'll say they're nylon strings, but they have metal on the outside, but the nylon's on the inside. So I'm not actually sure about this particular set. I did look at a bunch of different strings, and they don't really say much about this on here. Anyway, so either way, it's usually not the bottom strings that are hurting my fingers. It's those little skinny metal ones at the top. So I've just put this through. Easy peasy. I love ball end strings. It'll make it so much easier. Okay. Now, once again, I want to make sure that I'm going from the inside out here and giving myself quite a bit of slack. And then I want to make sure that I'm turning this the right way. And I always forget, do I turn it this way or that way? I don't remember. But I definitely want this to turn so that you see how these other ones are, we can't quite see it. It goes from the inside up and around, and it's going this way. So that's the direction I want. And it appears to be that direction. Also try to remember that you should be using the same peg. Sometimes I get caught up, and I do this like if I'm watching television and I find I'm like turning, the one that I just did and making it way too sharp, which is kind of a dangerous thing to do. So just pay attention. And notice this is already starting to, not doing what I want it to do. Let's try that. Maybe I am going the wrong way. Let me see. Oh, I am. Just probably had too much slack in it. Oh, that's what it's doing. It's going over the top like that. So I got to hold it down. You see that? Like I said, I'm a hobbyist. I'm not a guitar expert. Maybe I'm using too much string here. I don't know. I just like having a little bit of leeway. Once it starts getting to the point where that's the tail that's coming up. Where it's secure, I don't need to hold on to that anymore. I can actually tune to this little guy. Well, that's too low. I'm going to use my little online tuner here. This is A. When I get it to A, it's not on A. I'm going to. That's now more closer to the E. It's still low now. almost there. Once it starts getting close, I use my hand because I don't want to overshoot it too much. Okay, let's see. And this thing is hard to see. Of course, I'm trying to also do this. So the thing with these tuners is that if you hit the button on the back, it'll switch from like a chromatic tuner, which is basically, chromatic tuner means that whatever note you're playing, it will show you where, whether you're sharp or flat to that particular note. Then there's a guitar setting, so it knows what the notes of the guitar are. It has a ukulele setting, a violin setting, and if you hit the back button when you move it, then you'll accidentally have it on violin and realize it's trying to put you on something else. Okay. That's too low. It's weird. It's F sharp now. Somehow that got sharp. I don't know if I was accidentally tuned it too high. Okay. Somehow I got that low note to go higher than it was supposed to be. I'm not sure how I did that. All right, now I'm on 4. This one's also a metal looking or steel wrapped or whatever you call it, or half nylon. I don't know if there's nylon in here. But last of the low strings. I think I can get this one without using the tool. It doesn't have a lot of extra string wound around it. There you go. Like I said, you don't want to treat your Martin this way. Your nice, expensive guitar. But if you got a Goodwill guitar, I'm still surprised they sold this for such a low price. I don't know, maybe they were thinking because the strings weren't on it that it was broken, but obviously it's not. The strings can be replaced easily. So could have been an accident. I mean, I think it would be at least worth $10, not 5. This little guy right at the end is haven't given me trouble. I'm gonna wind this guy up, put it back in the envelope. So it's really good to do this as you're doing it, otherwise you're gonna have a big mess. Like I said, I suppose you could just throw the strings out, but especially if like you don't have another set of strings, you definitely want to keep a backup. You just never know when a string's gonna snap on you. Okay. And you know the drill at this point. I'm going to put this through the little hole at the bottom. Going from the inside out. And then making sure that I have a little bit of slack here. And then I got to try to guide this with my hand here. So I just like what I said. It's like what I said. That's what I was trying to say. Trying to do this while you're also trying to be mindful of the camera. See how that likes to flip over? I'll hold that down. I think I'll use this guy. Make sure I'm going the right direction. That's still pretty loose. I don't need to hold it anymore, but see how loose that is? It should be I think. Let me check. Yeah. This is the hardest part, I think. I mean, I have ear training. I'm still trying to make sure that I'm getting the right note is difficult. So once again, use your phone app if you need help. I'm going to play this sound again. A little flat, I think. Yeah. Now it's a little sharp. Yeah. Kind of settling in. All right, so let's check it. Really, it doesn't need to be perfect at this point because, like I said, as the strings settle in, they're all going to go out of tune anyway. Okay, make sure you're set to guitar. This is weird that E likes to go sharp. And it's already flat. Okay. Getting a contact request. All right. Shows I have friends. Okay, let's see. We're doing string 3. So that means we're actually starting up here because that's the 3rd string. And I'm going to use this guy. Now that's kind of mirrored on the other side. So I'm still going to go from like in to out in terms of how I'm stringing this. But that means that these are going to turn in a different way. Not quite. Once again, after it's on your super nice guitar, just cut it off carefully. A little easier with this one. Okay. This is where I'm finally getting to replace these little steel strings with some nylon strings. Yeah, I think my fingers are going to be so much happier, and I will probably play this a lot more. My little knockabout guitar. Just putting the extra string in the envelope. So see, this has like a little plastic thing on there. However, with these nylon strings, you can easily just tie a knot in the end, which is what I do. I have this flea ukulele, and those are just knotted at the bottom. Sometimes the knot won't completely close when you first do it because it's nylon, so you just put it in there and you kind of pull the string up, and it eventually will get tight, but you have to leave a little bit of an extra tail on there to make sure it doesn't, as it tightens, it doesn't just completely fall off the end of the string, the knot. I mean, I hope that made sense. But this is already coming with a little stopper on it, so. But if it was gone for some reason, or if it broke off, you can knot the string. I don't think you can do that with the steel ones. So, all right, I'm gonna put that in there. Whoop. Accidentally knotted as I was doing this. You see that? But since I already have a knot in there, I'm going to undo this other knot. That's a little challenging when I'm trying to hold all this up. So. There we go. Good as new. Great. Yeah, the nice thing about the nylon strings is if they do snap and come flying at you, they're less likely to hurt you as much. They'll still hurt, but not as much as the steel string. Okay, so going from the inside out. Oh. Completely lost it. And the funny thing is that I'm actually doing pretty well with this restringing, because you know, I've had times where I've just, I don't know, it's like nothing wants to work properly. The string doesn't want to wind the right way. Stuff is flying everywhere. So this is actually not too bad. All right. Got my slack in there. And now I got to figure out which way I want to turn this. And yeah, that's right. So I'm turning this down. There it goes. It's a little flippy thing. So I'm going to hold this on here. This will also help guide it a little bit. Let that getting in my face. Although it's plastic, so it won't hurt too much. Okay. Oh, you want to make sure it's in the right groove. This is trying to get over into the B strings territory, so I'm moving it over. And now I can start to tune it. This is a G, and it should sound like the. Okay. Where is it now? It's too low. take this up. See, the thing is like you can also get tricked by the octave. You can have it on the right note but the wrong octave, and then you get afraid if you tune it too much, you're just going to be too high. But this is definitely not supposed to be this loose, right? No, that's better. It was a lot looser. Let me play that again. Let's see what the tuner says here. I'm putting this on chromatic, so it'll tell me what note I'm actually on. D. So it still has a ways to go. Let's play the note again. La. And now it's on F. Yep. So it's just got F is one note below G. So I just want to bring that up a little bit. Oh, flat there. Now what is it telling me? Still a little flat. So can you see that? I'm not saying. What is it doing now? Yeah, F sharp. You'll see how these cheapy tuners, I'll like switch over to another note sometimes. There's it's a G. I want it to, so it is going to go green. There, see it turned green? And now it's saying it's a, see what I'm saying, this tuner's terrible. It's from a G to a C. All right, so everything else is now out of tune. That's not too bad. Got 2 more strings to do. So I'm going to go to string, the second string. Second string is B. So make sure you're using the right, the right tuning peg here. Yeah, that's making it sharp. Considering this is such a cheap guitar, the tuning mechanism on this isn't too bad. There, see, I can just pull it off. Once again, I'm still keeping the guitar away from my face as much as possible. That baby out. It's got a bit of a kink here at the end. So I'm going to try to straighten that out a bit. Voila! I'll be happy to get rid of these teeny tiny little metal strings off of this. The bane of my acoustic guitar existence. Yes, they hurt so much. It's probably why a lot of people pick up the guitar and just don't ever pick it up again because these strings hurt so much. Now, which would you rather have on your finger? This nice plastic or this little tiny wire that looks like it could, what is that term, garrote? You know, or you take the wire around somebody's neck and you cut their head off that way. That's what that wire could be used for. But not this happy little plastic wire. Once again, it's got our little ball end on there. Flying all over the place. Boy, I really need to dust this thing. I think I need to take like a Q-tip or something because a lot of the dust is kind of collected around the corners of the bridge. And I did kind of do a quick dust off before I did this video. Okay, but it wasn't enough. All right. So once again, outside in. And I don't know, it's probably better to cut these other strings off first, but like I said, I just like to have them on there just in case I need to adjust something. And I'll give you an example. When that happened, I was restringing this ukulele, and you see how they're open pegs. And so if you have the string kind of more wound towards the middle, then the string's going to be angled differently. And so I realized after I had strung this that some of them were angling towards the middle and some of them were over towards the end, and it was looking all, you know, lopsided. So I actually restrung it. And fortunately, I hadn't cut the ends off. So I waited until I got it all the way I wanted it, and then I cut everything off at the same time. So that would be a good example of why you might not want to cut them off one by one. But it's a little less of a danger, obviously, if you're using just a standard acoustic guitar like this, because it's not like you can have that horrible look. But you never know, you might have wound them the other way or something. So I just like to wait, and even though it's a pain in the butt, they get in the way, I'll leave them on there for now. Okay, got that. And if I'm remembering correctly, I'm going to go this way, but yes. So I'm going to hold that up here, make sure that doesn't pop up. Probably want to just use this at this point. Where's my little tool? One thing I notice about these little nylon strings is that when you're winding them, they are much more likely to have these type of things happen where you get like a loop like this. Now, that happened to be the thing coming out, but sometimes it'll loop with the actual string, and you don't want that. I also, it's not like you have to, but ideally I like to have them where they're, the windy part is kind of flush, and it's not like you've got bundles of string that are kind of, you know, like this way and that way. Like I said, nobody's going to really look at it, but I just think it looks a little neater. So in this case, I'm seeing that I'm not quite happy with how this is laying out, but I'm going to give it a couple more winds before I redo it, because I will rewind it until it looks a little nicer, which is silly because, like I said, my guitar is dusty and it's banged up, so why should I care? That's one of those quirks I have, I guess. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Now I'm going to see what note we're going for. La. That's way low. I can afford to give it a couple good cranks before I even try to tune it. See, now it's about an F. Actually, that says an E. I forgot that was on. Here's my G, which is already going down to an F. And I want this to be at a B. La. La. Is this a G sharp now? A. La. 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 A sharp. Plastic's getting in the way. It's very close. It's a little flat. I'm going to put that down. Yay! All right. One more string to go, and I'll have my new, easier to play nylon string acoustic guitar. So there are drawbacks to the nylon string. It will not be as loud. Of course, that could be a plus. It might have a sound that you don't like as much. Maybe it's a softer sound. I think it's probably going to be a little easier if you want to do finger picking. So it really depends on, you know, what you're using your guitar for. I think I can just pull this one off now. It's kind of stuck. And I was reading one article online. I apologize, I don't remember where, but basically they were saying if you're going to use the nylon strings, you might want to make some adjustments to your acoustic guitar to maximize the guitar with these nylon strings. That is way above my pay grade, and plus, like I said, this is a $4 Goodwill guitar, so I'm not going to bother with that. I mean, I suppose if there's, you know, something really funky with it, maybe I would try to, you know, do a home fix, but that was easy to get off. But, you know, there might be certain adjustments that you could make to maximize it. All right, I'm going to take this little evil thing here and replace it in the bag. I can't wait. I'm going to enjoy this so much more. So I was playing guitar not very well for a while. And then I got a ukulele because it was more portable, and if I wanted to go visit somebody, it was easy to take on an airplane. And I mean, you could take a guitar too, obviously. And then I joined one of those little ukulele groups, and it's just easier. There's only 4 strings, there's not 6 strings, they're spaced wider apart, doesn't hurt your fingers. You don't have to be that good for it to sound okay. The bar chords are a lot easier. You know, that's where you place your finger across the, you know, like bar chord. Ugh. So I got lazy and I just ruined what I was doing, showing you the bar chord, and didn't play my guitar as much. But it's nice to be able to play guitar, and I really like the finger picking on the guitar, and you just can't do that as well on the ukulele part because the ukulele, this is a soprano ukulele, but you see how far apart the strings are compared to the guitar? That makes it easier to learn to play when you're doing chords, but it's not so great for finger picking unless you're Jake Shimabukuro, in which case he's a genius on the ukulele and can do just about anything. And see, these are actually a little too close together for me. I prefer the classical guitar for any sort of finger picking, but this will do. All right. I do have a classical guitar, but it's in its case because I don't want it to get dusty because it's nicer than this, and then I don't pull it out as much, whereas this one could just sit around. So it'd probably be better to have this with the nylon. All right, so I've got this all ready to go. And now I just need to start tightening this up. This. Now there are people who like restring their guitar like once a week. That's commitment. I cannot say that I enjoy this process. So if you're just a casual player, you should probably restring it at least twice a year, you know. but have I done that? I don't remember the last time I restrung this guitar. But on the other hand, I haven't been playing it that much either. So the more you play it, the more you'll need to restring it. And you might ask why. Well, because the strings wear out and then they don't sound as good. I suppose they might be more likely to snap. I don't know if that's a big danger of old strings, but it's just that they won't be as punchy. And they get dirty looking and gross, particularly if they're steel strings. Because this is going to be the high note here. And this is obviously, wait, that's actually like an octave lower. Keep going up. Let's see, where are we? This is A. Still have a ways to go because an E is a fifth above A. So the other trick is that you play the, I can't remember what it is on the guitar, but let's say that this, let me make sure that B is still in tune. No, it's not. I gotta retune that. That's a good approximation. Okay, so I've got my B here, which is still a little flat. And I want it to get up to, so I'm going up to fret 5. You want those to be the same, which they're not, so. See what our little tuner's saying. See what I mean about it jumping around? That is definitely not an E. It's saying C sharp. D. Come on. E sharp. There we go. I don't know why it's this. Dude, why are you tuning or why are you saying A? Okay, so let me just check. I'm quite happy with how the strings are looking. Now have a good number. And if I were to be like super picky, I might want to just get a little bit more wrap going on this one. And that's me being super picky because it's really not necessary, but that's just me. I always want to have a little bit more extra string. So what I'm going to do is cut off these things and I'm going to retune it and then we'll see how it sounds. But let's just say for argument's sake, okay, we'll pick on this string, which is fine. I mean, like I said, you don't need to have like, 5 rounds of string on your tuning peg here. But maybe I just want to have a little bit more. I can actually undo this a little bit, which I will do. Hard to do this when I'm trying to put it on the video. So I'm creating some slack here. It's just if for whatever reason you want to redo it. I'm going to actually, you can do this with the nylon strings. Open this up a bit and then just pull on it a little bit. This is just going to give it a little couple more wraps. Now, whoop, I had a little loopy thing coming up there. And I'm just trying to get them so that they're in a nice little line. So they'll just look pretty. And I'm going to keep my thumb there when I'm tuning it. So I'm just redoing it a little bit. You can't really see it, but just so I could fix it. It didn't really need fixing, but for the sake of demonstration, unfortunately, I think in this case, I'm actually making it worse. But this is a good example of what might happen, particularly with these nylon strings. If they don't have the tension on them as they're being pulled through, I don't know if you could see this. You see how it's kind of like, it's really hard to see. They're kind of coming off a little bit. You could actually tighten it, but there would be some of these spaces. So this would be an example of why you don't want to cut the string till you're done. I'm just going to redo this whole thing. And see, it's already kind of wound, but I'm going to straighten it up. Put it through, inside to outside. And try to get these other little doohickeys out of my way. I'm going to start maybe right there. I just want to get that first turn. This is the thing, if the nylon gets a little kink in it, it can kind of hold that shape. I mean, I suppose the steel can too. But. So I'm kind of pulling on it a little bit, just You can see that just to make sure that it's wrapping tightly. There we go. And oh, let's jump into the B again. Little bugger. And now I'm getting a nice little roll here. And we're going to tune it again. Let's see, put this on here. Not that this particular tuner helps because it's kind of messed up, but it's turning on. Okay, you can also see, that might have been why I was changing it. It has different settings, right? There's a little button in the back, and when I press that button, you see these little lights that are coming on. That's the ukulele. That's the violin. And I'm just going to set it to chromatic. Ideally, it'll tell us exactly what note this is. This is D sharp. Still jumping around. You don't go from a D sharp to an A right away. Okay. It's a little sharp, but that's okay. It's going to get flat as the guitar string stretch. Okay, so there we have half black, half gold. I think that looks kind of nice. They're all out of tune now, but oh, that feels so much better on my fingers. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tune in once more. Then I'm going to cut the strings off, and then I'll tune it again, and then we'll see how it sounds. So let's start with the E. That's pretty good. Is this on? Yeah, that's pretty good. A is a little flat. Oh, gotta go that way. Probably. Yeah, close enough. It's a little sharp, but that's all right. It's going to stretch. G. See how, and those nylon strings are going to really stretch. So you should expect the nylon strings would, I'm guessing, but I'm fairly certain they are going to go out of tune even more than the bottom strings. Yep, that's a note lower. It said A, but I know it was an E. Okay, so now I'm going to cut the extras off. And that's why this little thing is great, because it has a little clipper on the end. It usually has this little plastic thing that covers it up. So it's kind of doesn't get in the way. All right, so let's see if I can do this. I'm going to try to do it as close as I can without cutting the actual string. This one. Make sure it's on the right side. Well, it's a little tricky. As you can see, it's like right where the string is. So I'm going to be real careful with this one. I don't want to cut the string. That would not be good. I'm going to start off by hooking it on up here. See, and I'm going to slide it up. There's a little extra on there, but that's okay. And this one's also kind of close to the string, so I'm going to hook it on up here, slide it down, being really careful not to cut the string. And then our little nylon. I'm just double checking to make sure I did everything right. I'm like, that would really suck if I did this whole video and I didn't do them the way I wanted to do them. Okay. And then it's also close to another string, so there, good enough. All right, gonna retune it. I said, don't yell at your string manufacturer if your strings aren't instantly in tune. This is normal. Okay. Here we go. That's pretty good. It's a little sharp, but I'm going to leave it that way. That one's right on. Then slightly sharp. I'm going to leave it because it's going to stretch a little. Oh, I'm losing my mouse here. This is probably out of tune already. Yep. Well, went up a little bit too high. I was looking at it in the camera and I thought it was saying A because it was cutting off the bottom. So that's too sharp. Here we go. Okay, good enough. Let's see how this sounds. A little out of tune, but already out of tune. So it's going to take a little while before these strings settle in. But I have to tell you, my fingers on these upper strings are much happier. I'm not going to have to worry about trying to build calluses. And I just now need to keep tuning this little guy for the next week or two until it all kind of settles in. So it doesn't sound very good right now. It sounds completely out of tune. But it will sound better. So I hope that was helpful. And good luck with your guitar playing. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.